Hey everyone, Chris Patterson here, and my writing tip for this week is how do we beat writer's block? If you are a writer, you know that this is the bane of all writers. All authors will at some point experience writer's block, and it can feel crippling, right? So how do we beat writer's block? Well, let me first tell you that there's a lot of resources out there that will help you beat writer's block. These are not certainly the only things. I'm going to give you 5 things that help me beat writer's block that I know help some author friends of mine beat writer's block. These are obviously not the only things out there that can help with writer's block, but man, writer's block can be terrible. It can feel like we don't have any more ideas. It can feel like we just can't write, like we're terrible at our craft. Okay, so how do we beat writer's block? Well, my first number one tip on beating writer's block is walk away. Sometimes we just need to walk away from the project that we're working on. Sometimes we just need to get up, take a break. Maybe it's an hour break, a 15-minute break. Sometimes it might be a day or two. I've walked away from projects that I've been working on for a week. Now, if you're a full-time author, obviously that can be a difficult thing because this is what you rely on. For me, I'm a teacher. I got kids, so I can find something else to do. But yeah, sometimes guys, we get so stressed mentally, we just can't think. And you can think of stress in any other area of your life. When we experience stress, a lot of times stress can be very crippling. You just got a lot of stuff going on, from hormone responses to whatever. Your body almost gets into like a fight or flight mode sometimes when we get stressed out. And it is literally impossible to write when we feel that stressed. I can't imagine a writer that's under some deadlines and they're trying to finish a manuscript, and all of a sudden, boom, you get hit with writer's block. So my first tip to beat writer's block: just get up and get away, step away. Tip number two. I like to listen to some music. I think music can be a great motivator for our writing process. And what I like to do is, wherever I'm stuck, the piece of music that I will listen to, it correlates to what I'm writing. So, for instance, if I'm writing a battle scene and I'm having a hard time writing that battle scene, oftentimes I will listen to upbeat, rock, even metal kind of type music. And that tends to get the creative juices flowing as I'm writing a battle scene. If I'm having trouble with dialogue, I think about the dialogue that I'm writing, and I'll switch it up. Maybe some kind of chill music, some chill electronic, or some more meditative type music, which oftentimes helps. Especially that meditative music. I'm a big fan of like Native American flute and stuff like that. And if I'm just writing if I'm writing like a scene, I try to picture that scene, right? So, being a fantasy author, my characters walk into a bar, they walk into a tavern, and I'll Google some medieval fantasy tavern music, and that helps. It gets the creative juices going, and so. Tip number 2 in beating writer's block: listen to some music. Okay. Tip number three, and this one has kind of 2 parts to it. Tip number 3 is read. Okay, and the second part to that is watch a movie. Right? Don't watch TV. Don't watch, if you do, watch like a show. And what I mean by that is we want to read something or watch something that's going to motivate us, encourage us, give us ideas, right? So if you're a fantasy author, read fantasy. If you write men's adventure, read men's adventure. If you write mystery, read mystery, right? And oftentimes by reading and then reading more and listening to an audiobook and then reading and then maybe you watch Lord of the Rings and then you read again, and a lot of times what that'll do for at least me is it'll start to get some of those creative juices going. It'll start to get some ideas churning in the head, and all of a sudden I'm like, bam, here we go. I know where I'm moving on from now, and then I can get up and I can go write. And I think so many authors don't realize the value of reading. Reading is so important And it's really because what we're trying to do as authors is retell a story that's been told time and time again, and we're trying to tell it in a new and refreshing way, right? And so don't be ashamed of that. That's just the way it is. And so get up and read. That's step number 3. Tip number four, get some exercise, okay? For some people that's difficult. For me, I've been involved in sports my whole life. Love working out, love lifting weights. And so when I feel super stressed, when I got writer's block, I got a nice little setup in my gym, in my garage, little gym setup. I'll just get up and I'll go out in the garage and I'll lift some weight or do something. But get exercise. Being healthy, right? And you don't need to be like a fitness model healthy. You don't need to be a bodybuilder healthy. You don't need to, right? But being healthy is not only good for you, but being healthy physically has very, very strong connections to being healthy mentally and emotionally. We know that through study and research that healthy physical body oftentimes leads to a healthy mental body, right? And so make sure that you're getting up and exercising. Make sure that you're moving around. Again, it can be simple, like do a quick 10 to 15 minute body weight routine. Go for a run, go for a swim, go for a bike ride. It can be a number of physical activities, but again, in my experience, getting up and being active really, really helps get over those periods of writer's block. And lastly, tip number 5, and again, there's so many tips out there, there's so many resources to help with writer's block, but tip number 5 for me is brainstorm. Find an author friend, find a spouse, find a brother, a sister, a parent, someone who is bought into what you're doing, bought into your writing. They like what you're doing, and just brainstorm some ideas, right? Tell them where you're getting stuck. And oftentimes they may not give any great suggestions as far as how to move forward from the point where you're stuck, this point A to point B, but in talking about it, all of a sudden you get some ideas going. I've done that a number of times. I talked to my mom or my dad or my wife about how to move from point A to point B. And it's like everything they're saying, I'm like, no, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. That's not going to work. But then all of a sudden I'm like, but I tell you what will work. And then I get past that point. So tip number 5 is really just talk it out with people. Find people, surround yourself with people who, kind of support what you're doing. They buy into what you're doing. They love your writing, and just sit down with them and tell them you're stuck, you need some help. I need to get past this writer's block, and just brainstorm some ideas. So guys, there's 5 tips on how to beat writer's block. Again, like I said before, there's so many other ways to beat writer's block. So many resources out there, but hopefully this helps. Again, as authors, we're always going to get some writer's block, and it just can be so demoralizing, and man, it just pisses you off. So hopefully these 5 tips help. So until next time, happy reading. We'll see you later, and don't let that writer's block get you down.